The story of the Bible's first black king is not only a historical event, but also offers profound lessons about strength, faith, and obedience to God. This king, who came from the land of Nubia, overcame many challenges to stand firmly on the throne, leading his people in difficult times. However, his story is not simply about power or glory, but still a testament to the certainty in the work of seeking the truth. The Bible not only records the stories of the kings of Israel, but also depicts role models of leaders of other nations, such as this black king. Through his story, we learn that God does not discriminate by skin color or background, but he looks at the heart and loyalty. This reminds us that no matter what the circumstances, if we know how to guide ourselves to God with faith and obedience, he will guide and forbid us. Number 1. Nimrod's great legacy. From African roots to great civilizations. Nimrod is one of the prominent figures in the Bible, described in Genesis 10:8-12 as a mighty hunter before the Lord. However, the story of Nimrod is not limited to simple descriptions. He was an important figure in ancient history who contributed to the creation of great civilizations and had a profound influence on the formation of countries and cities in the Middle East and Africa. In the Bible, Nimrod is not only known as a talented hunter, but also an excellent leader. However, what he built and created for the ancient world was no less great. Nimrod was not only the founder of great cities, but also played an essential role in shaping the politics, culture, and economy of many countries and regions. One of his most profound influences was the founding of Babel, the foundation of ancient Babylon, one of the greatest civilizations in human history. A mighty leader, a mighty hunter. The Bible describes Nimrod as a mighty hunter before the Lord, which shows not only his physical strength, but also his strong spirit and determination in all his actions. Nimrod was the son of Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah. Ham was the father of many peoples, especially those in Africa and the Middle East. Therefore, Nimrod is not only a figure in the history of ancient nations, but also a symbol of the connection between Eastern and Western civilizations. Nimrod came from Cush, an area that many scholars believe lies in Nubia, between modern-day Egypt and Sudan. This suggests that Nimrod had deep African roots. The name Cush in the Bible has long been associated with a rich and prosperous land, and Nimrod's connection with this land had a significant influence on the formation of ancient civilizations. However, Nimrod has had a far more generous interpretation. Since Purple Hill is more than 2,000 miles away, Nimrod's great contribution to the formation of ancient civilizations. Part 1. Nimrod was not only the founder of cities such as Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, but he also played an essential role in building the political, social, and cultural systems of these countries. These cities later became centers of power, where important historical events took place, influencing the entire Mesopotamia, Egypt, and neighboring regions. The city of Babel, later Babylon, that Nimrod founded became one of the great civilizations with outstanding achievements in science, culture, and art. Babylon, with its significant constructions and complex political system, had a profound influence on many other civilizations in the region. What Nimrod created was not only influential cities, but also a foundation for the development and cultural exchange between peoples, both in Rome and Central West Africa. The connection between Nimrod and Africa. Nimrod's connection to Africa is shown not only through his origins, but also through his influence on the Nubian civilization. Although the Bible does not describe the Nubian civilization in detail, it can be seen that Nimrod had a significant impact on the construction and development of ancient civilizations in this region. Sumerians, with their achievements in art, architecture, and military, are an indispensable part of the overall picture of the development of ancient civilizations. Nimrod, with his leadership and strategic vision, contributed to the connection between civilizations in this region and promoted cultural exchanges between Africa and other regions of the world. Sumerians, with their lives built around them, are the foundation of everything. The combination of politics and culture. One of the highlights of the story of Nimrod is the combination of politics and culture. Nimrod was not only an excellent military leader, but also a visionary in building cities and civilizations. The cities he founded were not only centers of power, but also places where cultural, religious, and artistic values were developed, contributing to the enrichment of human heritage. The story of Nimrod is not only the story of a mighty hunter or a talented leader, but also the story of the formation and development of civilizations. Nimrod's combination of strength and wisdom created an incredible legacy that influenced not only the Middle East and Africa, but also the entire history of humanity. Nimrod's legacy in history and religion. While the story of Nimrod has important historical elements, it also offers profound lessons about leadership, power, and influence. In the Bible, Nimrod is described as a strong and ambitious man, which reflects one of the significant challenges of human beings in using their power and strength. Nimrod is also a model of great leaders, who sometimes have unlimited ambitions. His story advises us on the proper use of power, not letting personal ambition overshadow the greater goal and the common good of the community. Although there is controversy over whether Nimrod was the founder of the Tower of Babel, it is undeniable that he left a great legacy in the building and management of cities and civilizations. His career and influence are a testament to the power of leadership, vision, and influence, not only in ancient times, but also to the present day. Number 2. Nimrod, founder of the empire and legendary prophet. In the Bible, Nimrod is one of the most mysterious and complex figures. He is known not only as a legendary hunter, but also as a great leader, visionary, and influential person. From the stories in Genesis, we can see his essential role in building cities and empires, and realize that in addition to his hunting talent, Nimrod also had a tremendous and meaningful mission in history. Nimrod is described as a mighty hunter before the Lord, a title that not only reflects his hunting talent, but also symbolizes his superior strength, power, and leadership. In ancient culture, the hunter was not only a hunter, but also a protector of the community, a person with great power and influence. Nimrod used his hunting talent to expand his territory, conquer lands, and build a great empire. However, Nimrod was not just a hunter. He was a great builder with a vision. After conquering lands, he began to build great cities such as Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Building these cities was not simply creating urban areas, but an important step to establish power and control. Nimrod understood that building influential cities would consolidate his power and create a solid foundation for his empire. In addition, Nimrod was also considered a wise politician and leader. With excellent organizational and leadership skills, he built a vast empire, uniting different tribes and peoples under a common power. His empire was not only strong militarily, but also developed economically and culturally. Nimrod laid a solid foundation for future generations and passed on a great legacy to his descendants. Milendish. However, in addition to his apparent successes in leadership and empire building, Nimrod had another important role that few people pay attention to. He was a prophet. Although the Bible does not explicitly mention him as a prophet, through his actions and decisions, Nimrod demonstrated his foresight and awareness of the times. He understood that in order to maintain his power and develop his empire, he needed to face significant challenges from nature, society, and the gods. This is clearly demonstrated by the construction of the Tower of Babel, symbolizing his ambition and desire to conquer the world. Although the plan to build the Tower of Babel was ultimately unsuccessful and was thwarted by God, it reflected Nimrod's vision and confidence in imposing his power on the entire world. Nimrod's influence was not limited to material life. His legacy lives on in stories of power and ambition. Nimrod is a model of strong leaders who seek to expand their territory and assert their power. However, his story is also a warning against complacency and arrogance. The construction of the Tower of Babel, although a great engineering achievement, was a challenge to God's sovereignty. It was this arrogance that led to division and chaos. With peoples and languages scattered, Nimrod's role in connecting cities and civilizations is also remarkable. He not only built cities, but also created a network of trade and connections between lands. The cities he founded became cultural, economic, and political centers, providing a solid foundation for later civilizations. Nimrod built an empire that relied not only on military power but also on cooperation and connection between peoples, although this also brought challenges and conflicts. However, Nimrod's career and legacy were not without its dark side. Although he was a talented leader, his arrogance and excessive ambition brought him face to face with God's judgment. The Tower of Babel, a symbol of his pride and desire to surpass God's power, was eventually destroyed, and the peoples were scattered, losing the unity that Nimrod had built. This illustrates an essential message in the Bible. No matter how talented and influential humans are, they cannot surpass God's omnipotence. Ultimately, the story of Nimrod is a valuable lesson in leadership, power, and ambition. Nimrod was a man of extraordinary vision and talent, but he was also a model of arrogance and lack of humility. His story reminds us that no matter how great our success, we must always remember that power and strength ultimately belong to God. Only by living in humility and faithfully to God can we build a sustainable and beautiful future. Nimrod was a complex character, but his story is not only about power and ambition, but also a warning about greatness and the consequences of arrogance. The lessons of Nimrod will always be a source of inspiration and reflection for those who aspire to be leaders, and a reminder that we can only succeed if we follow God's path. Number 3. Nimrod, founder of great cities and a warning from history. In human history, a prominent figure from the Bible is Nimrod, who was not only known as a talented hunter, but also a founder of great cities, deeply influencing the culture and politics of ancient times. Nimrod built cities such as Babylon and Nineveh, which became symbols of power and prosperity, but also warnings about arrogance and rebellion against God. Nimrod's journey in founding these cities is an indispensable part in the formation of powerful civilizations, and from them we can draw important lessons about prosperity, arrogance, and God's judgment. Nimrod was the founder of Babylon, Nineveh, and many other cities in the Shinar and Assyrian regions. These cities were not only centers of power but also places that witnessed the intersection of different cultures, beliefs, and power in history. However, besides prosperous development, each city also warns about arrogance and the inevitable consequences when humans decide to confront God. Babylon, symbol of pride and greed. Episode number 5600, The Mythical King of Death. Babylon, located in Mesopotamia, today Iraq, was not only a large city but also the center of the Babylonian Empire. This city is famous for the Tower of Babel, where humans dared to challenge God by building a great construction with the ambition to claim power. However, as the Bible says, this arrogance led to the collapse of the Tower of Babel, symbolizing the failure when humans arrogantly opposed the power of God. Babylon was not only a city of prosperity, but also a place of greed and confusion. Under kings such as Nabopolassar and Nebuchadnezzar II, Babylon became a center of commerce and culture, but also a place of sin and corruption. Babylon's prosperity, though great, led to its alienation from God, and ultimately, the city faced destruction. The story of Babylon is a warning to all peoples that no matter how prosperous a nation may be, if it does not live in humility before God, it will not escape judgment. Nineveh, ancient military and cultural power. Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, was one of the famous cities founded by Nimrod. Located near modern-day Mosul, Iraq, Nineveh was not only a military power, but also a great cultural center of the ancient world. With its unique architecture and art, Nineveh was a place of great prosperity in science, art, and culture, especially with the construction of the famous Library of Ashurbanipal, which contained ancient texts on mathematics, astronomy, and history. However, Nineveh's greatness also had its dangers. Although it was a cultural center, the brutality and arrogance of the Assyrian Empire in war cost Nineveh its life. When people become too complacent and arrogant, they easily forget God and lead to their own downfall. The history of Nineveh is a testament to how easily a powerful empire can fall into ruin when it fails to live by moral principles and reverence for God. Shinar and Assyria, The foundation of great empires. The Shinar region, where Nimrod founded the great cities, located between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, was the cradle of many ancient civilizations. This is where the Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian civilizations flourished, with essential contributions in governance, law, and culture. Nimrod's founding of the cities of Shinar and Assyria laid the foundation for later great empires, such as the Babylonian and Assyrian empires. However, the association between these cities was not without its contradictions and conflicts. Although Nimrod built these cities to create a strong and stable empire, these empires were also the scene of religious, political, and military conflicts. Each city that Nimrod founded is part of a story of prosperity and fall, reflecting the relationship between man and God and the inevitable consequences when man puts himself above God. Lessons from Nimrod and the ancient cities. The story of Nimrod and the cities he founded is not only a part of ancient history, but also a profound lesson for people of all ages. Nimrod, with his ambitions to build great cities, is a testament to human wisdom and leadership. However, his arrogance and abandonment of God led to the destruction of these cities. In modern life, we can also draw lessons from Nimrod and the cities of Babylon and Nineveh. We must remember that all success and prosperity come from God, and if we are arrogant and do not honor God, we will also face serious consequences. God is the creator of this universe and will not let man rebel against him without paying the price. In a world that is constantly changing, the story of Nimrod is a reminder of the need to live in humility and faithfulness to God. Only when we honor him and live by his principles can we build a solid and blessed future. Number 4. Nimrod, empire builder and religious influence. Nimrod is one of the most prominent figures in ancient history, recorded in the Bible in Genesis 10:8-12. He was not only a ruler, but also a visionary leader who built a great empire. His leadership had a profound impact, not only in his own time, but also for generations to come. Nimrod was the first person to build an empire from a small tribe, turning it into a system that linked large cities and regions under his control. In this article, we will look at the key elements of Nimrod's empire building and leadership. From small tribe to great empire, Nimrod was remarkable not only for his great leadership, but also for his ability to unite many cities and regions into a mighty empire. This was unlike any previous leader. Nimrod was able to bridge disparate cultures and economies, create a strong political structure, and link distant lands. His empire building is a clear demonstration of the importance of combining military, cultural, and commercial forces in building a mighty nation. Distant leadership vision. Nimrod did not simply expand his territory, but also created a centralized society. He not only built cities like Babel and Nineveh, but also established trade, cultural, and diplomatic ties between the regions of his empire. These cities became centers of power where culture and trade flourished. Nimrod's creation of this complex political and social system not only helped his empire grow, but also had a lasting impact on later great empires. Culture and commerce under Nimrod's leadership. Nimrod understood that an empire needed not only military might, but also cultural and commercial development. Under his leadership, cities such as Babel and Nineveh became important cultural and commercial centers, promoting economic development and trade throughout the empire. Nimrod created a thriving environment for art, learning, and commerce, where creativity and cultural exchange flourished. Babylon, in particular, became a symbol of the combination of power, culture, and ambition. This was an excellent success for Nimrod in building a solid foundation for the prosperity of the empire. Shaping the future, building an empire. Nimrod's construction works and leadership strategies laid the foundation for the development of later great empires, especially the Assyrian and Babylonian empires. What Nimrod did was not only expand his territory, but also build a strong political system where power was concentrated in the hands of visionary and strategic leaders. Later empires followed this model, focusing on maintaining political stability and developing culture, trade, and the military. Government and religion. One of the highlights of Nimrod's leadership was the combination of religion and politics. In the cities he built, religion was essential in maintaining social order and consolidating the empire's power. Nimrod was considered a supreme authority, not only as a military leader but also as a religious leader. The combination of political and religious power created a unique model of leadership that helped him maintain control and consolidate the empire's influence. Nimrod's influence and legacy. Nimrod's work left a far-reaching legacy in history. He was a pioneer in building a mighty empire and connecting many cultures together. His vision not only impacted the ancient world, but also influenced later empires and leaders. Nimrod's works and strategies paved the way for later great empires such as Assyria and Babylon, whose leaders continued to develop the model of centralized power and developed culture and trade. When we look back at history and what Nimrod built, we see that leadership is not only about military control, but also the ability to connect cultures and promote sustainable development. Nimrod, with his vision and strategy, created an empire that not only lasted for a while, but also influenced generations to come. Lessons from Nimrod. Nimrod's life and work offer us many lessons. First, leadership is not just about power, but the ability to build and maintain a sustainable system where cultural, commercial, and religious elements are all harmoniously combined. Second, Nimrod demonstrates the importance of building an empire with a long-term vision, not only relying on military power, but also focusing on the development of culture and economy. Finally, Nimrod's combination of politics and religion in leadership is an essential lesson about the role of religion in maintaining social order and power. Number 5. The legacy of Nimrod and Babylon. The call of history. In the Bible, Nimrod is a far-reaching figure associated with the beginning of rebellious and sinful kingdoms. His legacy not only endures through historical times, but is also reflected in end-time prophecies, especially the fall of Babylon, a symbol of alienation and rebellion against God. Nimrod, who is said to have organized and built the Babylonian kingdom, left a complex legacy, reflecting the intrigues and arrogance of men in trying to make a mighty empire, but far from God's truth and justice. Babylon became a symbol of betrayal and sin, as shown in the book of Revelation. Babylon in Revelation, symbol of spiritual degeneration. Babylon is the image of a society completely alienated from God, where greed, lust, and pride reign. In Revelation, Babylon is not just a city or an empire, but a symbol of all the evil and sin that humanity can create when living outside of God's guidance. This spiritual depravity and corruption is a powerful warning to those who continue to live in sin and do not repent. Revelation chapter 18 verses 5 through 10 describes Babylon as the great city that hates God, where the rich and powerful rely on worldly prosperity instead of God's righteousness. However, the prophecy about Babylon does not end with its short-lived prosperity, but with its inevitable end, its fall and destruction, a warning to all who continue to live in sin without seeking God's salvation. Nimrod and the founding of Babylon, the foundation of a sinful empire. German search. Nimrod was the one who laid the foundation for the kingdom of Babylon. In Genesis, Nimrod is portrayed as a mighty, powerful man who built an empire of great cities with Babylon at its center. However, his legacy was not only the might of a kingdom, but also the beginning of a sinful system where power and self-righteousness replaced submission and reverence for God. Nimrod did not just build a city, he built a political and social system that was contrary to God's principles. Nimrod's rebellion was manifested not only in the construction of the Tower of Babel, a symbol of human arrogance and the desire to reach heaven to demonstrate human power, but also in his political schemes, as he sought to create a dominant kingdom separate from God's guidance. Nimrod's complex legacy, regime, and sin. Although Nimrod built a mighty empire, his legacy was not limited to strategic successes. He was the initiator of a totalitarian culture and politics where absolute power was valued over righteousness and morality. Nimrod was the first person in the Bible to build a kingdom that strayed from God's justice and replaced it with a tyranny where the divine was abused and power was concentrated in the hands of one individual. Nimrod and his leadership are the ultimate example of a rebel against God. And the building of Babylon is a testament to what humans can create when they forget God's teachings. His arrogance and pride led him to create an empire where human power overrode all divine truth. Prophecy of the end of Babylon, a warning for the end. The prophecy in Revelation of the fall of Babylon is not just a prediction of a specific city or nation, but a warning to all cultures and political systems that have strayed from God. Revelation 17:21-24 describes Babylon being destroyed by a terrible natural disaster as punishment for its crimes. The end of Babylon in Revelation is part of a prophecy of God's final victory, when he will destroy all that opposes righteousness and restore his kingdom on earth. The fall of Babylon is not just the end of an empire, but a reminder to humanity of their sinfulness and the need to repent and turn to God for salvation. The legacy of Nimrod, a warning for us today. The legacy of Nimrod and Babylon is not just a story of the past, but a warning for all of us today. Nimrod built a mighty kingdom, but lived far from God's righteousness. His pride and rebellion left a dark mark on history. And the fall of Babylon was a testament to God's judgment. Today, we also face the Babylons of the modern world, the foundations of sin, pride, and arrogance. However, as prophesied in Revelation, God will ultimately triumph, and all that is wrong will be removed. Therefore, we need to learn from Nimrod's legacy. Do not let pride and arrogance take over your lives, but live in humility, submission, and reverence for God, so that you will receive his salvation and glory. Number 6. Nimrod, the journey of ambition and God's warning. The story of Nimrod in the Bible is not only a story of his great achievements, but also a valuable lesson about the potential dangers when human ambition is not guided by divine purpose. Turning now to the creation story of the Old Testament, Nimrod was a man of vision who aspired to build great cities and create mighty empires. He was a talented hunter and a warrior with unparalleled achievements. However, his ambition did not stop at conquering nature, but also extended to dominating others and building great empires such as Babel and Nineveh. However, throughout this process, he failed to maintain humility and connect his achievements with divine purpose. And Nimrod's ambition exhibited a dual nature. On the one hand, he was a model of perseverance and vision. But on the other hand, his ambition was an impressive example. His rebellion was not only manifested in the building of the Tower of Babel, but also the leading of a great empire without respect for God. The famous project of building the Tower of Babel is a clear example of this ambition. The Tower of Babel was not only a symbol of a great project, but also an image of arrogance, of man's desire to surpass the limits set by God. They wanted to build a tower so high that it could reach the sky, a manifestation of complacency and rejection of God's guidance. Nimrod's rebellion was not only demonstrated in the act of building the Tower of Babel, but also in his leading a large empire without respect for God. The consequences of this rebellion were the dispersion of languages and division among peoples, as described in Genesis 11:01, verses 9. It was arrogance and the failure to recognize the need to adhere to the natural purpose that led to confusion and dispersion that Nimrod could not control. Nimrod and the kingdom of Babylon he built became a symbol of unbridled ambition. Although the city of Babel and his empire achieved greatness materially, their growth was not built on a solid moral and spiritual foundation. This story is a reminder of the dangers of empire building and achievement without respect for spiritual values, of growth without the service of God as its primary purpose. Impetus by God, see, life. An essential lesson from Nimrod's story is the need to align all human resources and strength with a spiritual purpose. While Nimrod's achievements may be seen as great from a worldly perspective, if not done with humility and service to God, they will lead to spiritual and moral decay. This story encourages us to think about using our talents, resources, and power in a way that aligns with God's higher purpose, rather than simply satisfying our own ambitions. This reminder is not only for those living in Nimrod's time, but also for future generations. Nimrod is a clear example that while great achievements can be achieved through human strength and intelligence, if they are not connected to divine purpose and God's guidance, they will not be sustainable, and can lead to destruction. When ambition is left unchecked and without God's guidance, the result can be dispersion and destruction. But if we are humble, connected to God, and direct our purpose toward God, we can build a stronger and more lasting foundation in life. Now, Nimrod's story is a lesson in humility, in the need to keep our hearts focused on our spiritual goals and to serve God in all our actions. While we may achieve great things, we must remember that everything we do must serve God's purposes and bring glory to Him. When we follow this path, no matter what challenges or temptations we face, we will find that what we build will be lasting and meaningful. Number 7. Journey from Africa to global civilization. Africa, the cradle of ancient civilization, has played a crucial role in shaping the cultural, administrative, and social foundations that we still see today. However, we rarely recognize this importance, especially when it comes to figures like Nimrod. A talented leader, Nimrod was not only a legendary hunter, but also the founder of great cities, laying the foundations for civilizations whose influence has spread through the centuries. Nimrod was the son of Ham, the grandson of Noah, and one of the most important figures in the Bible. Although he was of African origin, Nimrod's role in the formation of great civilizations such as Babylon and Nineveh has not been properly recognized in mainstream history. Nimrod not only led conquests, but also founded cities, built structures and infrastructure, and developed advanced systems of government, natural sciences, and civilizations. The city of Babylon, where Nimrod ruled, was not only a center of trade, but also a symbol of creativity and management, and the art of construction. Similarly, Nineveh, with its majestic architecture, became a center of military art and strategy. The contributions of Nimrod and other African leaders went beyond building cities or leading armies, but also shaped the cultural and political values that we practice in modern society. However, despite their significant influence, these contributions have not been fully recognized. In history textbooks, especially in Western studies, the role of African leaders in shaping world civilizations is often overlooked or downplayed. This not only deprives us of valuable insights into human development, but also deprives us of a significant part of the world's cultural diversity. Recovering stories like Nimrod's is essential to help us properly recognize Africa's role in the development of global civilization. Africa's contributions to governance, the arts, and the sciences have laid a solid foundation for future generations. If we do not recognize these achievements, we will lack a comprehensive understanding of human history and the strong links between civilizations. The influence of Nimrod and African leaders lives on through the civilizations they created. Cities like Babylon and Nineveh are not only physical legacies, but also symbols of the cultural, political, and military values that later empires continued to uphold. The infrastructure, military strategies, and political systems that were built during that period continue to have a profound impact on modern society, from the way governments are organized to the great works of architecture. Reaffirming Africa's role in shaping world civilization not only helps us honor the contributions of leaders like Nimrod, but also broadens our view of the interconnectedness of non-Western civilizations. When we restore awareness of these contributions, we gain a more complete view of history, which in turn increases respect and understanding between different cultures around the world. Ultimately, the story of Nimrod and Africa's contributions to ancient civilization is a reminder that every culture, every community has a vital role to play in shaping the world we live in. It is not an individual journey, but a shared journey for all of humanity. We must recognize, learn from, and respect the contributions of each culture, because it is these contributions that have created a diverse, rich, and colorful world. Number 8. Legacy and warning: Nimrod and the lessons of history. In the context of human history, there are names whose influence continues to this day. One of the most controversial and enigmatic figures in the Bible is Nimrod, who is described as a great hunter and the founder of famous cities of the ancient world. However, the connection between Nimrod and world history, especially with African civilization, needs to be examined more deeply to see his importance not only in religion, but also in the valuable historical lessons he left behind. Reflections on the contributions of Africans. The Western historical tradition, especially in recent centuries, has sometimes failed to appreciate the contributions of African civilizations. The truth is that Africa has had a significant influence on the development of humanity, and Nimrod is a typical symbol of the legacy of humans. Of African origin, Nimrod represents a period when ancient cultures on the Black Continent played an essential role in building the foundations of human civilization. Nimrod is not only a legendary historical figure but also a symbol of African strength and resilience. What he did during his time had a profound impact on civilization and cultural heritage, not only in Africa, but also in the whole world. Although time has passed, Nimrod's image still lives on in the minds of those who seek to connect the past and the present. Nimrod's legacy. Nimrod is not only famous for his hunting exploits, but also for founding great cities, including Babel. His career marks an important period in the formation of ancient civilizations, especially the significant influence that these cities left on human history. Although Nimrod is known as the legendary hunter, his legacy is much deeper than that. He was the one who built the first cities of the ancient world, and cultural, economic, and religious centers that contributed significantly to the development of humanity. These cities were not just physical structures, but also symbols of prosperity and power, unbridled ambition, and a warning for the modern world. One of Nimrod's most notable characteristics was his unbridled ambition. This ambition led to unwise decisions, typically the construction of the Tower of Babel, a great project that failed to achieve its goal. Nimrod, with his dream of reaching the heavens, tried to demonstrate his power, but was ultimately brought down by God, leaving a profound lesson about arrogance and the consequences of going against God's will. Nimrod's lesson about unbridled ambition is still relevant today. In a turbulent world where personal ambition and power sometimes blind people, Nimrod's story reminds us that every action, big or small, must be guided by God. Otherwise, such ambitions will lead to ruin and failure. The call to re-examine history. Ultimately, Nimrod's story is also a call for us to look at history with a more objective perspective. Let's put aside prejudices and one-sided comments and reconsider the role of cultures in building the foundations of today's world. Africa, with its great contributions from ancient civilization to the influence of Nimrod, deserves more recognition in historical studies. We need to realize that history is not just a simple story, but a connection between the past and the present. Nimrod is not just a legendary hunter or the first city builder, but also a profound lesson in pride, ambition, and unintended consequences. In the context of the modern world, where our decisions can affect millions of lives, Nimrod's lessons are still relevant. The story of the first black king in the Bible is not only a piece of history, but also a profound lesson in faith, perseverance, and God's unconditional love. King, although not a prominent figure in the holy books, through his trials and wise decisions, we learn that faith knows no race or skin color. God loves us all, and he does not only choose those who have power, status, or wealth, but those who are upright in heart and faithful to him. When we look at the life of this black king, we see a wonderful example of trusting in God's guidance in all circumstances. Despite the complex challenges he faced, he persevered in seeking justice and fairness, which is what God always desires from his children. This is a lesson for each of us to learn how to live according to God's way, no matter what the circumstances. Always seek justice and live in love. Hopefully, through this story, you will feel the power of faith and God's boundless love. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the channel to discover more meaningful stories and lessons from God. May you always find peace and hope in your journey.